Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the High Level Podcast. We're back again for this week's episode. My name is Jonathan Dalport, your host and handsome-looking young man, joined as always by my beautiful co-host, Mr. Damon Huntelaar. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing fine, and yourself?
Fine, and yourself? You're looking very schmexy,
Yeah,
I must say. That's a very nice hat you
thank
have
you.
there, I must say.
A friend went to the US.
Is
I
it?
do not live in the US,
Oh,
and they got me this hat,
must be a nice
and I
friend thinking
appreciate
of
it.
you, just,
But the interesting thing about this hat is
tell me.
he got it for me on Miami Beach, and it even says Miami Beach, but there's a label that says "Made in China."
It seems like he didn't go through the effort of cutting the label out just so you could see. So you're
Yeah.
saying he
For all
actually
I
went to
know,
China?
he got it at like
The
Checkers
airport.
or Edgar's or something like that.
Promise you, it was in Miami. It was a very weird store. I'd had a little bit too much to drink already by then. I thought the hat looked good.
I like the hat though, so it's nice.
At least. All right, guys. So today is going to be basically an introduction, a masterclass on hydrogen. If you haven't heard about it, what is hydrogen? Where does it fit into the renewables race? Just a quick, feeling the room here. High level thoughts, right? High level. Yeah, you got that? High level
Yeah.
thoughts on hydrogen. What's the good, bad, average? Anything?
I know it's a gas, and I know that it is a diatonic gas, which means it likes to be bonded with itself,
Got you. Got you.
like young twins, they're just inseparable.
Okay, got you. And when they get older,
Yeah.
then not inseparable.
When they grow apart, they
Ah,
find themselves.
man, tale of life. Tale of life, man. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, just to introduce, we have a lot of big goals in the world, obviously climate change and everyone's falling over themselves. So the UN and basically every country's put together some sort of goals. You want to walk us through those, Mr. Insula?
Yeah. So the United Nations has set 7 affordable clean energy goals for sustainable development. Um, so yeah, I'm just going to go through them. There's a little bit to unpack here. So the first one is by 2030, they want to ensure that there's universal access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy services. So for me, that just sounds like getting the technology to the point where it needs to be sustainable. Then the second goal is to increase sustainability. Is it to increase sustainability? Oh, substantially. Sorry, I just can't read. The share of renewable energy in the global energy mix.
Okay.
So, where that's set apart from the first one is the first one just cares about affordable, reliable, and modern. But the second one is now focusing a bit more on that whole renewable aspect. And then the next goal by 2030, and all of these goals are by 2030,
Yeah, it's
is
flipping
they want to
steep.
double the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency.
I like the way all of these
So,
are
I mean, like,
very
how are
vague.
they measuring?
I
Yeah,
no
they are
idea.
quite vague.
Yeah.
And I
Even
don't
when
know,
you go to
how
their
do you measure?
website, even when you go to their website, it's literally just these bullet points, nothing else. I'm sure there's a report somewhere that we didn't find, but yeah, they're nice and vague, I guess,
Uh,
so that you can come back and say
yeah.
we actually did it.
So I think we got to be a bit specific about the wording. They want to double the global rate of improvement
In
in
energy
energy. So
efficiency.
if we're currently improving energy efficiency by 0.5%, by
Yeah.
2030, they want to be improving it by 1%. Just the important percentage facts there. The next one is to enhance international cooperation to facilitate access to clean energy research and technology, including renewable energy, energy efficiency, and advanced and cleaner fossil fuel technology, and promote investment in energy infrastructure and clean energy technology.
You
And
see,
that
that's a
was a
mouthful.
mouthful. Yeah. So for me, that basically what that means is just how do we as a globe improve energy. And then the last one that I have here, oh, well, I've only got 5 here.
Oh, I think you meant goal
Anyway,
7. Goal 7 is these 5 points because I think
ah,
they have like 20 or 30 goals. So yeah, this is just one of the goals.
okay, all right. So then By 2030, they want to expand infrastructure and upgrade technology for supplying modern and sustainable energy services for all in developing countries, in particular, least developed countries, small island developing states, and landlocked developing countries. So that's just, again, improving infrastructure. For me, they all kind of go together. I feel like
Yeah,
for some
I
of these
agree.
goals, you need to, especially for like uh, uh, that last point that I made, you gotta have it be accessible to everyone to
Yeah.
just even be able to
Like
achieve
one
that
one
goal.
hand
So
sort of feeds the other. If you're improving efficiency, most likely you're reducing the cost. Well, I guess doesn't go hand in hand always, but I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that sort of when you do the one, the other's going to follow, pretty much.
yeah,
All right, sweet. And then you got some fun facts for us there. So yeah, let's put some numbers
yeah.
to this.
All right. So first fun fact: access to electricity went from a measly 73% in 1998 to 90% in 2020, and that's pretty substantial if you think about it.
Sounds good,
In
man.
20 years, yeah. So nothing
I like the
too
way
too
they've
too.
used percentages as well, because I mean, how much has the world's population changed? So like actually that's a few 100 million people. I don't know
Yeah,
exactly what it would be, but yeah, no, I like it.
yeah. And then I don't know how fun this fact really is, to be honest with you, but 660 million people will still lack access to electricity. Fun fact.
Fun fact. Very fun fact. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. Next one. 2 billion people will still rely on polluting fuels and technologies for cooking by 2030.
See, like when they say polluting, like does that mean you're burning wood to cook? Does that include gas? Because I know like a lot of Americans use gas, like they have main gas lines to their houses. Does that count?
Well, I think they specific by saying polluting fuels, you know.
Well, like gas, if you burn gas, surely that's polluting. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Fair, you know what I mean. But anyway,
Yeah. And next one, renewable sources power nearly 30% of energy consumption in the electricity sector, but challenges remain in heating and transport sectors.
in yeeting,
Yeah, in heating.
yeeting it out there.
Yeah, heating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
so I
got
mean,
you.
I think everyone wants to generate electricity, but I think it's a lot more difficult to incorporate that into like transport and stuff. Where if you look at in terms of just infrastructure,
Yeah.
especially with vehicles, the main fuel source is petroleum or diesel
No,
based
like, and I
things.
would
So
agree. And
like,
obviously, we've discussed this at length since we see each other 24/7. But
yeah,
my main thing for hydrogen and where I see its opportunity is transport. I don't think it's really competitive in other things, and we'll get into that obviously later. But yeah, that's where I'm hitting on, as you can see by how I've boldened the word.
mm.
Oh,
And yeah. So last fun fact: it's estimated that between 35 billion and 40 billion dollars are needed annually. That's US dollars to reach universal electricity access between 2021 and 2030. Now, to me, that's a very reasonable number because it's a global thing. It's
yeah,
a globally we need as the planet Earth 35 to 40 billion
as
dollars
as the planet Earth. Like to
to
me
reach
as
these
well,
goals.
like it seems like a reasonable amount. Like it's not a little bit of money, but
Yeah,
it's
by no means.
like we can surely, and like just to add some funness to your fact as well, I pulled up some R&D budgets of some of the big companies. Amazon in 2022. Do you want to guess how much they spent on R&D?
68 million trillion.
It's a million trillion. Man, you were so close. $73 billion.
Sure.
Meta 35,
73
73, man. Meta
just for
35
that.
billion, Alphabet 28 billion, Apple 26 billion. So like I think there's money to go around, and I think for a social good, like well, this is like a human good. I can't see why we can't finance this genuinely.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into that, but then we're getting into politics, which is not the purpose
Not the
of this
purpose, but I
podcast.
mean it's fun to
At least not
comment
right
on.
now.
Not right now, at least.
Yeah.
Who knows where we go? All right, so getting back to hydrogen. So there's obviously all these goals that we want to hit, and we believe hydrogen could be a part. Obviously, I don't know about you. I don't think it's the be all and end all, but I mean,
I
I think
think
it
it's a
plays a part.
personally, I think it's a component, you know.
Yeah. I
Like
don't think
we
there's
had
going
that
to be
in-depth
one that
discussion
wins.
that other day. We had that discussion about solar the other day. Like,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of harnessing energy, I feel like it's probably the the best,
Yeah.
in my opinion, just purely because the sun's so readily available. Even if you're only harnessing 20 or 30% of that energy, there's just so much energy. But
Yeah.
again, that's another topic for another day.
No, definitely. But I think it plays into this. So, like, obviously, if we could lay, because solar panels are so cheap and readily available, I think that's what really makes it the best. Like, to put up a wind turbine takes a lot of engineering, but like most people can lay a solar panel, right? And it's easily accessible.
Yeah,
But again, like we say, it's not one renewable that's going to win the race. You got to have a combination. Um,
a
so yeah,
plethora
a
of renewable
plethora.
energies
There we go.
that work together.
A plethora. Yeah, so
It's a nice word,
obviously
eh?
we're talking hydrogen this time. So let's just do a quick intro to hydrogen. Properties. So hydrogen, if you've never looked at a periodic table, is the first element. It's the lightest and the smallest element, and the most abundant, believe it or not. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, but the periodic table works from most abundant to least abundant. Am I right?
I don't know if
Is
that's
that a
true.
myth? Is that a myth? Have I
I
been
don't know.
have I been
I
living a
I
lie?
I, I don't know. Look, it makes sense if you look at it because like it's
I mean, it's a simple
interesting
Google
fact.
search
It's
away.
a bit of a side note.
Tell me.
So the dude that like put together the periodic table, I can't remember his name. You know, the whole he when he conceptualized that the elements need to have some sort of a logical
Yeah, yeah.
placement in a table, he had been looking at it for years. And when he and if people know who this is, then they can drop it in the comments.
Yeah.
He he had a dream, and I heard this on a Huberman podcast, so it must be true,
Must be.
about about cards. He was laying down cards with the periodic tables, and then in his dream, the basic structure of the periodic table appeared to him in a
You
dream.
joke.
So
Surely
yeah,
not.
yeah,
Surely not.
yeah.
I'm calling bullshit. Really? Is this like a well-documented fact?
I don't know if it's well documented. I don't even know if it's that true, but I like to believe it's true.
No, it's a beautiful story. It's very romantic. I like it. So yeah, hydrogen number one. I did a quick Google search and I think I'm wrong, but I'm gonna live in ignorance for now. Um, Typically found in its gaseous state, we all know, but a lot of us know it as H2O, right? The water that we
Mm.
drink every day. Most abundant element, like I said, in the universe. It's 3 times more abundant than helium, believe it or not. A lot of our sun is fueled with hydrogen as well. Um,
I
some
mean,
general properties,
the sun basically compresses hydrogen into helium. Isn't that the thing?
right? And it's according to brother Elon, all hail Elon, it's the biggest fusion reactor we have available and it requires no maintenance, right? So that's why he's all for. So I don't know if you've ever seen his interviews on solar panels, but he's very much for solar panels. Um, General properties, boiling point, negative 252 degrees Celsius. Melting point, negative 259 degrees Celsius. So not the easiest element to handle, which I feel like we'll get to
Yeah.
in a future podcast. Obviously, speaking to your supervisor, your master supervisor, the great Prof. Jen, the hydrogen expert. It's a very difficult element to handle, to store, things like that
Yeah, it's because it's so small.
because it's so small, right? You're trying to confine the smallest element in the universe. It obviously becomes problematic. Um, Critical temperature and pressure, negative 240 degrees Celsius and 13 bar. All right, guys. So that's hydrogen for you, but we need to speak about how hydrogen's produced, right? So, Mr. Hunselaar, you want to walk us through this process?
Oh, sure. So the first one is thermal processes such as natural gas reforming. Now, before this podcast, I did do a little bit of reading up,
Nice, nice.
and it's essentially a chemical reaction. There's always a complicated way of how it's done, but This is a very high level explanation. So the first is called steam methane reforming. So you take methane, which is CH4, and water, which is H2O, and a little bit of heat, probably actually more than a little bit. And then you get carbon monoxide and three hydrogen from that. Then, because carbon monoxide is poisonous and a greenhouse gas, they take the carbon monoxide and then they react that with water, and then you get CO2 and H2. And yeah, that's basically it. You also get partial oxidization, which is methane and some oxygen. And then again, you get carbon monoxide and hydrogen. And then they take that carbon monoxide with water, and then they get carbon dioxide and hydrogen. So at the end of the day, it's just taking methane, doing some fancy reactions with it to split it into carbon dioxide and hydrogen.
Yeah, and I
And
think
yeah,
because methane's so readily available, right? And obviously it's got four hydrogens attached to the carbon. It makes sense as the place where you're going to get the hydrogens from.
yeah. And it also, and when you think about it like that, it makes sense why they use methane instead of, let's say, ethane,
Yeah,
because ethane has two carbons and what, six
six hydrogens,
hydrogens.
but obviously then you got the carbon bonds, which
But
are a
then
bit
you,
harder to
yeah,
break.
yeah. So, and you also then produce less
Mm.
pollutants like CO2.
No, fair
And then
enough.
the next one is the electrolytic process. So this one's pretty simple. They normally take water and they'll either make an alkaline or a slightly acidic solution just to make it a bit more conductive. And then you'll have an anode and a cathode. And then on the one, and then when you apply some electricity, that's enough energy to break the water bond, the chemical bonds inside the water molecule. And then on the one anode, you'll get, I can't remember whether it's the anode or the cathode, but it's one of them. You'll get hydrogen forming on the one side, on the one electrode, and on the other electrode, you'll get oxygen.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. So I think interesting to note, like most of the hydrogen produced in the world is used thermal processes. They're splitting methane. And it's literally like 96, 97% of all the. So we are far away off from having like a lot of green hydrogen. And I think in South Africa specifically, that's what they want to do down in the Cape, is create that hydrogen corridor. So yeah, just to tell you guys, like most of it is split with methane. And then we get to the colors, sort of, if you've ever heard of like green hydrogen or blue hydrogen or pink hydrogen, just a quick summary of what they all mean. So green hydrogen, very easy to understand if you use a renewable source. So if you use a solar panel to power an electrolyzer, which basically splits water, that's green hydrogen because it's all nice. It's sunlight. There's no pollutants. You're using that energy to split water. There's not really anything that's going to go out into the atmosphere. And that's why we call it green, right? Green energy, green hydrogen. Then the normal natural gas one is called gray hydrogen. And then a form of that is blue hydrogen. So gray hydrogen is just straight steam reforming, so splitting methane. Then when you have the carbon capture in that as well, you get blue hydrogen. Black or brown hydrogen. So in the process of methane splitting, you dissociate coal. However that happens, you dissociate coal somehow, and you get black or brown hydrogen. Then pink hydrogen. So instead of using another input for electricity, so this would be with electrolyzers, instead of using a coal fire powered station, Jesse, I can't speak, coal fire power station plant to produce electricity, you use a nuclear plant. Turquoise is methane pyrolysis, which we won't go into. It's just a different method, very small part of the hydrogen mix. And then you get white hydrogen. And basically this, I read a small article about it. I don't know how popular it is, but basically where hydrogen's found in cavities under the Earth's crust, and you basically harvest it like that. So there's just a summary. I'm sure there's a whole bunch more colors, people making up different nuancey things, but these are the main ones that I found to tell you just the color. But again, like 97% of hydrogen in the world is produced by splitting methane. And that's what it is. And hopefully it will change over time. That's all part of the goal 7, right? To try and make us more renewable. Anything else you want to say
Yeah.
on that, Mr. Insular?
Yeah, no, I think we can just jump into like What are the uses of hydrogen?
What
Why do
would
we even
you
need it in the
use
first place?
hydrogen for? What would you use hydrogen for, Mr. Insula?
So this takes me back to my younger years,
To your
the
younger.
years in which I had hamsters.
Okay. Yeah.
And one thing I remember about these hamsters is that it was there was quite a pungent aroma,
Yeah. Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you, especially if you leave them, you close the door and then you come in and there's that smell just hits you in the
No, it's
face.
rough, man.
I
It's rough.
learned in my later years, I learned that that smell comes from
Ah.
ammonia, and
Yeah.
now ammonia is apparently useful for things like farming.
No, no, no. Fair enough. And you obviously you
Yeah.
from I don't know how much you had. You was from the farming industry. Was there a lot of ammonia you came into contact with, or not
Not
really in
so much
food
because that the ammonia would be used for the plants
for fertilizer? Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to, to for fertilizers and stuff like that. But where I was more like doing the feed for the animals. So
Yeah, fair enough.
come
I'm gonna make controversial opinion here. I don't think it's that controversial, but I'm not allowing my kids to have hamsters. I'm putting my foot down early now. Can't, man. Can't. Can't stand the smell. Then they get tired of them. Then you end up looking after them. I'm calling it now.
and then they put it in the microwave, and then now they've got a traumatic experience. And
Sherbet, man. Did you
yeah, I
put
know
your hamster in the microwave?
I didn't, but
Okay.
so we
You know
had
of
when I,
stories.
we had a whole bunch of hamsters,
Okay.
and like every morning we would wake up, and one of these hamsters would be missing,
Oh, nice. In
and
the
we couldn't
microwave.
figure out, wait, no, it's got nothing to do with the microwave.
Fair enough.
And to this day, I'm not sure how, but it seems that every night one of the dogs would somehow get one of the hamsters
Oh,
and
okay.
eat the
Fair enough.
hamster.
Sounds
I
about
don't know if
right.
that's true. I also, maybe they just died and my parents threw it away. Who knows? I like to believe my my dogs were a bit stealthy.
They went to a farm. They went to a farm. That's all we need to know. All right. So,
Yeah.
so most of the hydrogen used is used to produce ammonia, mainly for fertilizer for farming. That's about 60% of the hydrogen globally. Quite a lot of the hydrogen as well is used to refine oils. So oils you're using in your cars, oils we're using for cooking, things like that. A lot of hydrogen is used for that. A lot in the production of methanol as well. Um, then quite an interesting one I found as well is making margarine. So margarine
Mhm.
starts as a vegetable oil, and then they do like a hydrogen, I don't want to say like a wash, but they sort of impregnate that oil with hydrogen gas, and I think they use it's platinum as a catalyst. And basically, what it does is it takes the oil from I think it's an unsaturated fat to a saturated fat, and basically they just increase the melting temperature. So where it would be a liquid at room temperature, it's now a solid, and you can spread it nicely on your toast. Think hydrogen.
Yeah, very interesting.
Very nice, eh?
Yeah. Another thing
Then
they use it for is for the production of methanol.
methanol. All right, all right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we got that.
Yeah.
We got rocket fuel in here. If you guys are following SpaceX, got hydrogen and rocket fuel. I think it's two stage. What's in the other stage? Is it hydrogen and oxygen?
Oxygen. Yeah.
Oxygen as
You
well.
need oxygen for combustion.
Fair enough. And then we got steel refining, a little bit of a that's actually quite a new one. And I think that's part of the new green drive. They want to, because obviously you use coking coal to draw some of the carbon out of steel. Is it carbon that you're drawing out? There's impurities. I don't know what impurities you take out when you use coking coal. Do you know?
I think it is, some of it is the
Is it
carbon
carbon, right?
inside the steel.
Yeah,
I think
fair
it's
enough.
also impurities.
Well, yeah, then it would make sense that you're using hydrogen because the hydrogen wants to bond to the carbon. That makes sense in my mind. Are we going to go with that?
Yeah, let's just go with that.
Let's go with that. All right. So I think that's going to be a new green way of making steel. So we got the steel industry to tackle as well. And then hydrogen fuel cells. If you've ever heard of it. I've actually seen a lot of Toyotas using hydrogen fuel cells. Not in South Africa, but like just when I watch reviews and things. So yeah, that's its uses, Mr.
Yeah.
Insula. You got any negatives that you don't like about hydrogen? Could
Yeah.
there
One
be
thing is it's
anything?
very, when you make me think about it.
Yeah.
Look, one of the first things is it's a very energy intensive to produce, you know. It's like it's a 40% round trip efficiency, which means that when you produce hydrogen through whatever means, the amount of energy you're putting in to produce that hydrogen, you're only going to get 40% of that energy back.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
just want to see what the.
Do
Do you have
you
any
have
idea?
any?
You have any idea what the round trip efficiency of diesel is?
No,
No. All right. Well, since we
not off the
since we're
top of my head.
comparing it, diesel's about the same. For a diesel
About the
engine, you
same.
might have, yeah, for a diesel engine, you might have about a 40% round trip efficiency. I don't know. That sounds like big oil's trying to lie to us, man. That seems high. Whichever way. All right, so we're calling hydrogen and diesel pretty inefficient. But again, like we had that conversation the other day, all the infrastructure is built out for petrochemicals, so petrol and
Yeah,
diesel. It's the hard part of now getting hydrogen to market, right?
yeah,
For me, hydrogen is still not cost competitive. So if you look at it generally, you between like $3 to $6 a kilogram of hydrogen versus like $1 to $2 for like a fossil fuel like diesel. So not I mean, that's 2-3 times the price. So we're not there yet. I think it will happen, but not at the moment, not where we sit now. So my thing is
yeah,
cost at the moment. I know there's a big drive. I don't know how you reduce the cost so much that it becomes competitive. But I mean, I guess people said
yeah,
the same thing about solar panels 20 years ago.
yeah. Look, when necessity breeds innovation.
Oh, I
You can
love
put
that.
that. You can put that on a shirt.
But that,
Yeah,
fair enough.
yeah. So another thing is because hydrogen is so small, it's very difficult to transport and to store. You need specialized pressure vessels because it's so small. It just passes through the container,
Yeah.
and you need to get the hydrogen to where it needs to be for you to use it.
Hmm.
So transporting it is also another big factor. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's also one thing we got to figure out before we can really make it a staple energy source. You know what I'm saying?
I think as well, like that, just how flammable it is freaking horrifying. I don't know if you've ever seen, I watched a video the other day and he puts like some soap in some water and then he's like electrolyzing some hydrogen and obviously the soap bubbles catch the hydrogen. Have you ever seen them light that? It literally sounds like a gun goes off. I must actually show you a video. There's a lot of energy packed into the hydrogen. So as soon as you get a spark, it's not a fun time. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because
there's a
it
safety
doesn't want
risk.
to be hydrogen; it wants to be
Exactly.
water.
Exactly. So
So
any sort of heat that causes the chemical reaction to start, it's taking it, mate.
yeah,
All right.
and yeah,
Then
so
like one final one is obviously like we've said now, 98% of the world's hydrogen is produced from natural gas or bad things, let's call it. Only 1 to 2% is made in like a sustainable green way. So as much as we talk about hydrogen being the green fuel of the future, it's not there yet, not even close.
but it's not all doom and gloom.
No, no,
There
no.
are some pretty good things about hydrogen out there. You know, like for instance, it's not limited by the Carnot cycle, which is like in diesel engines.
Come on, man. Give us an engineering class here, Mr. Insular. Do you remember the Carnot cycle?
Ugh. So I remember kind of what the graph looks like,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Basically,
sure,
it's a
no, that's so
compression
long.
graph. No, that's a long time away, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
but basically, a diesel engine is limited by compression cycles. So it depends what the compression ratio is, what the losses are, and the heat that you apply. In hydrogen, we're not limited by that because we don't burn the hydrogen basically to produce movement. We can use something like a hydrogen fuel cell. Then you're not limited. You're just limited by electricity, basically. Um, so yeah, that's a very nice one. It can be zero emission, which is what I like, which is my selling point for hydrogen. Obviously, again, only at 1 or 2% now of global output, we're at a problem there. So that's again, I go back and forth. You can ask Mr. Hunselaar. One week I love hydrogen, the next week I'm flipping. I have no idea what's going on. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a good thing that you don't approach your relationships
no,
with how
completely
you
agree.
approach your
Completely
opinion about
agree, man.
hydrogen.
Completely agree. This is
It
like an
would be,
Italian woman. One week you love her, the next you're not sure. But I'm just in it for the passport.
yeah, I mean, and it's also like over the years, hydrogen has also been getting a lot cheaper, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, I think it's because we're refining the processes and we improving the technology to produce it. It's becoming cheap. So
Like, on that point, do you think it's just because a lot of people talk about it and so it becomes part of the conversation, so money starts to flow to it, even if it's not the best option, it's sort of just getting a lot of money and the price can start declining, whether that's good or bad? I feel like that must be a part of it. I don't know.
it has to be, you know. I mean, like for it to for the price to decrease, you need. I mean, it's simple if you think about it in terms of supply and demand. Uh, it's becoming more popular, so there's obviously a demand. So there's resources going into making sure there's a good supply of it.
Yeah.
And
No,
that takes money, that takes resources, that takes research.
no, agreed. I wonder how much of it is efficiently flowing to hydrogen, whether we should be pursuing it as much as we should versus like going to like battery technology. But I don't know. I think we'll get there. I think this week is I'm unconvinced by hydrogen, but maybe you can change my mind.
Again, again, I don't think in and of itself it's going to be the game changer. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a component of the bigger picture, you know.
No, agreed. Um, Another thing is obviously that it allows, and this is where I sit, it allows energy to be transported. So if you think about it in your daily life, a lot of the energy you purchase is molecules that were moved. So food that's been moved, if a truck needs to drive somewhere, when you're purchasing diesel or petrol at the pump, that's energy that's been made somewhere else and it's transported to you so you can use it, so have a bit of flexibility. Obviously, hydrogen allows you to have the easiest way to picture it is to have a hydrogen refueling station for your car, and then you can go wherever you want. Can't necessarily do that for a battery where you have to charge the battery for 1 or 2 hours, maybe minimum. Um, and yeah, it allows it to be stored for a long period of time. Not many people know, but like a battery is very good at storing power very efficiently, but for very short periods. You can't store for like 3, 6, 10 months. You're storing it for 1 or 2 days at a time. And that's where I like hydrogen. I think it's easy to transport the molecules, easier, call it.
You have some interesting things I'm reading here, something about molecules in transportation.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah, what can you tell me about that?
and I think we agree on this point, right? That hydrogen might not be good at the municipal scale at storing energy for like a power station, but very easy to see the use case in transport, right? So if you look at that first graph I had there, so basically that's a graph showing of all the electricity produced in the world, about 28% in 2020 is renewables, right? And that's coming from wind, solar, a whole bunch of different renewables, right? And basically the trend is up. So we're increasing from 23% in 2015 to 28%. So we are getting there slowly, but we're getting there, right? The places where it's sort of open to debate, how are we going to get there or whatever, definitely transport and heating. I think that comes from one of the things you said in the beginning, right? 2 billion people are still burning some sort of fossil fuel when they're cooking. So there's definite in heating, cooking, stuff like that, and transport, especially long haul transport is where I see good opportunity for hydrogen, right? And if you see this little McKinsey study I have down here, so the EU, and I think take these things all with a grain of salt. They're expecting fuel cell electric vehicles. So these are vehicles, EVs, powered by a fuel cell, which uses hydrogen, obviously. They're expecting that demand to rise from 30,000 units now, around about this time, to 4 million vehicles in 2035. So that's only 10 years away, but they're expecting it to. Do the maths with me, Mr. Hinselaar. 3 times 10, 30. Uh, is that 120 times in demand, right? From 30,000 to 4 million, somewhere there. Is my maths
Sure.
right?
Wait, let me see. So you need to times that by 100 just to get it to 3 million.
Yeah. So 130,000 times. I mean,
Yeah.
120, 130 times demand. Not important. Basically, a lot of demand they see is going to come in the future. 75% growth per year, right? And then if that's going to happen, they estimate that hydrogen demand is going to go from now about 60,000 tons worldwide to 6.5 million tons, right? That's a big
of this.
step up in hydrogen production. And again, if we look at all of that, it's fine to say, and let's say it happens, is the infrastructure there to produce enough hydrogen? I'm sure we've got the car making facilities, but do we have enough to power the stuff, right? So basically, that's all well and good. But if you're going to be a supplier now, if I'm a little oak, I'm going to buy a little petrol station and I'm keen, I want to supply hydrogen. What's it looking like at this current moment if I just want to sort of make money? Because that's what we're here for, right? We want to feed our families. So McKinsey did this small study, and this was somewhere in Europe, but I think you can sort of apply the same thing down here. If you operate a small hydrogen refueling station, and they gave a whole bunch of numbers, just walk through it quickly. If you have a daily capacity of 500 kilograms of hydrogen, so you're producing hydrogen on site, you can produce and store 500 kgs of hydrogen a day. You only need to sell, call it just a bit more than half of that to break even. Anything you sell on top of that is profit, right? And if you look at that in how many vehicles you have to refill, about 7 mid-sized trucks. So the guys transporting goods to grocery stores, things like that. You only need to service 7 trucks. Anything after servicing 7 trucks is all profit all the way. So I think for me, that seems like a small hurdle to get over. I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
7 trucks, man, 7 trucks.
Look, 7 trucks to make a living, that's not bad, but also, I don't know, how does it scale? You
I,
know?
that's the question, right? So if you go up to like a 2,000 kilogram facility, does it scale linearly? I wouldn't think it does. Probably takes a
Yeah,
lot more
because you
infrastructure.
need to hire people, you need to have
Agreed.
more equipment, more infrastructure. So yeah,
I think the
I think
knowledge
it's
also
a
becomes very specialized because as soon as you get up to an electrolyzer that's not like 500 kilowatts now, you're at like 3 megawatts. You're not any
yeah,
oak can sort of run that, you know? So yeah, but
yeah, but
anyway,
it's an interesting and
it's a
promising
study,
starting
right?
point. I'll
It's
say
it's
that.
it's basically saying that the the barriers to entry are getting smaller and we're sort of getting closer to the point where we can start doing this. There's also the option of if you get a big enough facility, right? You can just ship hydrogen in from the guys like Shell or Sasol or whoever it is, right? You don't have to run the facility yourself. You just have to store it and dispense. So there's a few options, I think. And I think definitely on the way, especially from here, from Joburg to Durban, like on that, like you could set up 1 or 2 stations, and as long as there's trucks coming through, feel like it's a viable option, right? So yeah, I think that's that for this episode, Mr. Hinseloss. So that's hydrogen for you. Um, Basically, hydrogen, smallest element in the universe, most abundant, could be a way for us to get renewables into the mix a bit more. Any final thoughts, your side, hydrogen?
I think it's. I think I'll just summarize what my opinion is,
Mm,
which is again, I think hydrogen is a very promising renewable source. I think it's going to have some applications that are going to benefit us. But I think if you want to look at renewable energy as a global topic, not just one aspect that we're looking at now, you got to realize that it's probably not going to be, you know, the golden pill that solves the energy crisis or something like
yeah.
that. It's going to be a component. So maybe we'll use solar to produce hydrogen to have this other thing, and then everything together might, you know,
Mm.
move us forward in the future. But
Yeah, I think
yeah,
I
time will
think the
tell.
big boys are still going to remain like wind and sun, and the rest is just there sort of to complement it and to build out the infrastructure, definitely. So I think
Yeah.
we're there on that, definitely. All right, guys, let's move on to life hacks. So we got one, we've both been using it to try and concentrate better. It's called the Forest app on Android. You got Forest, right? I've got what's it called? Flora, hey? But I'm sure there's multiple ones out there, free ones. Basically, if you're looking to concentrate and you want to grow trees at the same time, this is the app for you. This is where that Venn diagram overlaps, right? Basically, you set a timer for how long you want to concentrate. Mine's usually 20 minutes, and then you can watch your tree grow. Only problems I have with it is that if you interrupt the screen at any time, it's going to say that you've killed your tree. And sometimes a phone call comes in, and then you got to decide, am I going to kill my tree or am I going to continue concentrating? But yeah, it's been very
Yeah.
helpful. I don't know if you felt helpful. Have you felt more concentrated?
No, it definitely helps in terms of, especially like just keeping track. Because one of the things they say to keep yourself motivated is you need to see progress. And it's a very easy and clear way to track progress. Because I think a lot of the times when it comes to progress, it's very ambiguous.
Yeah,
How do you track that kind of thing? And this is
completely
just one way.
agree.
Oh, okay, I work until a tree grows, and then there we
Exactly.
go.
Yeah.
It's
And
one
mine
way to
even mine lets me
quantify
label.
it.
I don't know if yours also lets you label like what you were doing in that.
Mine only lets me grow like two trees. I think every day.
You joking?
So if it lets me grow two trees, but then the next day it will let me grow three, and then the next day, it's just because they want you to do the paid one, and I'm too
Oh
cheap to
yeah.
do
No flip, man. I've got
that.
unlimited trees.
Maybe I'm,
I grow forests, man.
yeah, maybe I must just try to find a different app. But the
Or you
concept
must
of it is there.
buy an apple. Come on, Mr. Hinslow. Come over to iOS. Come on.
But then if I buy an apple, how can I ever go to the doctor if I get sick? An apple a day keeps
No,
the doctor away.
okay, you didn't have to.
I
What's
did
your
have
life
to.
hack? What's your life hack? Come now.
My life hack is breathing.
Oh, what that helps with life. I'll give you that much.
Breathing. Yeah, no, no. So there's actually, so what I'm getting at is there's different like methods of breathing, and so you get box breathing, which is you breathe in for 7 seconds, you hold it for 7 seconds, you breathe out for 7 seconds, you hold that for 7 seconds.
Hmm.
I once had an asthma attack, and no, I once had an
From the box
asthma
breathing,
attack.
or this was an
No, no,
isolated.
no. It was from allergies.
Okay,
You
got
know me.
you.
I used to really struggle with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had an asthma attack, and I didn't have my pump with me, and I
Got
was
you.
sleeping over somewhere. So I did the box breathing, and then eventually it actually went away.
Why didn't
But
you why
the
didn't you just call for your pump? Surely that would have been more effective.
because it was like it was the middle of the night,
You didn't want to inconvenience
and
anyone with your
yeah, I
medical
didn't.
condition.
Yeah, I'd rather die than be someone's problem, you know. No, no, but my asthma attacks aren't that bad. But anyway, I did
Okay.
it, and eventually it actually just went away. But my favorite form of breathing is called Wim Hof breathing.
Ah, the
So it's
teacher.
quite a yeah. So I mean, like, watch it. There's a documentary about Wim Hof. It's
I've seen,
very
man, and
interesting
he
man.
must he
The
summited
man,
Everest shirtless, isn't it? Isn't that his?
he's crazy, man. He's crazy. He's wild. I don't know if I could ever like live his lifestyle. There's a documentary with him and Yes Theory on YouTube. It's about
Yeah.
an hour long. Watch it, and then you'll be like, this man's crazy. But
Man,
anyway, the
I
breathing.
don't idolize that guy at all, man. I've seen the stuff he does, and like it's really cool, but I don't need to do it
Okay, look, I don't I don't think it's so, what's the word?
for
I don't think
everyone.
anyone needs to go that deep
Yeah,
in, but the breathing exercise he's come up with for me really helps.
no
Like
fair.
if my mind's, especially at night, if my mind's busy or if I'm feeling a bit anxious, I do it, and then like it calms me down, it clears my mind, I can go to sleep,
Fair
and
enough. Fair
you
enough.
know, it just kind of brings you up. So how you do it is you take a deep breath, so you as deep as you can, as quick as you, well, not as quick as you can, but just like a deep breath, and then
Yeah.
you, instead of breathing out, you let it go. So you don't try and force it out, you just let it out.
Okay.
And then you basically do about 30 to 40 of these, and then on the last breath, you breathe out and try and hold your breath. And the goal is to try and hold your breath for about 2 minutes. But when I do it, I normally do about 1 minute, then I'll do 1.5, then I do 2 minutes and 2 minutes. And then yeah, look.
What's the whole holding the breath thing? Like, what does that do? Is there like a
So that
physiological thing or?
the way they try to do it is while you're breathing in, you're increasing your blood oxygen level.
Okay.
So you're basically storing the oxygen in your blood. And then when you hold your breath, because there's a lot of oxygen in your blood, then you don't need to breathe as like prevalently or as like desperately. So I mean that's the whole point of it. And
Okay.
then like and then there's other sciencey stuff about if you've got high blood oxygen levels, then like it stimulates certain parts of your body. Like for instance, if you're having what's the word? If you're panicking, then and you start like hyperventilating, then you get into that state. But now it's a bit more controlled. And
I
like
mean, I could
and
see
then
that.
so once you hold your breath for about 2 minutes, and again, the idea isn't to force yourself to hold your breath for 2 minutes. It's just hold it until you can't anymore, and then you breathe it in, and you basically kind of, in a nutshell, you induce a panic attack, but in a very controlled manner. And then when you breathe in and you hold your breath again, it's a very calming effect.
Okay.
And you just hold it for 15 seconds, and then you just move on to the next round. You do about 3 rounds of that, and then I suggest you give it a try. If it's not for you, it's not for you. I don't do it
Does it
every
like
day.
amp you up? Could I do it like before bed? Like, do you think that would?
I normally do it before bed.
Is it? Okay. I'm gonna try it.
But but
We
they
still have to try
recommend.
the non-sleep deep rest
I tried
things.
it. I did try it
And
last night. I don't know.
maybe we have to
I don't
try it
know,
a
but
few times. I don't know.
maybe I need to give it a proper try. It didn't really work for me, but maybe it's a practice, so it's something you got to get good at.
No, fair enough. All right,
Because it's very weird.
let's get to recommendations, Mr. Insular. What's your
Yeah,
recommendations?
yeah. My recommendation is the Dune series, the new one. So yeah,
Okay.
I heard about it and I thought, okay, I've been hearing a lot about like good reviews about it. And for me, like I don't want to watch a movie unless I know it's good because I don't want to waste time.
No, fair enough. Because movies are long these days. Flipping, how long is Dune?
It's 2.5 hours.
Each.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. Gee whiz. I don't know if
So
I
it's a
can
lot of
commit
time,
that amount of time, man.
But like one thing I've been doing lately is like I watch half a movie
Yeah, oh yeah, then
and
you
then
carry on. Yeah,
then
that's how I do it
then
as
you
well, man.
then like yeah, like you wait until the movie gets to like a point where okay, it's a bit calm. We can call it an episode and then you move on to the next.
See now, but what
I
did you
feel like
watch it
that's
on?
a
Because I looked on Netflix and I looked on Disney. Don't got nothing.
uh,
Oh, but you
you
must
must
have
try this this
illegal
this
things.
mass cinema.
Yeah, my
It's
family
not.
cinema. I know it's not
Uh,
illegal, but it feels
I pay
dodgy
for
to
it,
me.
so I pay for it, so it must be
Ah,
legal.
said the druggie to the drug dealer. Um,
Exactly.
all right, my recommendation: Tales of the Empire. Watched it on May the 4th on Star Wars Day. Awesome. Chef's kiss, must say. Really short 15-minute episodes. I think there was like 6 episodes. Oh man, so good. I don't want to spoilers for anyone, but I mean, it was really, really good. I really, actually, if I look at the Star Wars universe overall, I really prefer the animations over the live action stuff. Like 100%, man. Grew up on Clone Wars, and this was just like a nice compliment to it. Really enjoyed it. Would recommend 100%. Won't say anything more. You need to start watching more Star Wars, Mr. Insular. That's all I'll say.
Where does one even start when watching Star Wars?
If you're going to start, for me, if you're going to start, you start with Clone Wars. Start with the Clone Wars animated series. Done. You already know who Anakin becomes Darth Vader and Luke is his son. Like, that's all you need to know for that. Start Clone Wars. You'll fall in love.
Okay,
Fall in love.
I'll take your word for it.
Please, man. All right. Anything else on recommendations?
Yeah, no, not for now.
Not from you. All right, sweets. Thank you guys for joining us. If you want to get into contact with us, we do have an email. It's highlevelpodcasts with an S, casts@gmail.com. And that is simply because High Level Podcast was taken already. But you can reach us on highlevelpodcasts@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube, Instagram at High Level Podcasts. Feel free. Send us memes, whatever you want, and we'll try to get back to you. That's that. Any parting words, Mr. Hinselaar?
Godspeed.
Godspeed. Godspeed all the way. Guys, have an awesome
Yeah.
week.